Welcome to MCN. This is my favourite time of any given year. It's our annual 1000cc group test. Now it's 2016 and the new kid on the block is Kawasaki's new ZX-10. It's got a revised engine, new chassis, full electronics. Now the question is has this new Kawasaki got what it takes to repeat its success in the racing world and beat all of the latest generation 1000cc superbikes? All the superbikes in front of us are all 200 horsepower monsters. They've got full electronics and they're all the class of 2015, and our current favourite superbike is the R1. This is what won our test in 2015. The other little dark horse is the Aprilia, which didn't come out in time for our group test last year, so it'll be interesting to see how that fares. We've also got the S1000RR full sport edition and the Panigale 1299S. Now we're going to be riding all these bikes on the roads around Spain near the Alcaraz region, and we're also going to be riding on the track. We've got control tyres for the whole test. We've got Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3 tyres for our road element of our test, and then when we go on track we've got Diablo Supercorsa SC1 racing tyres to see how fast they go around the track. We just finished the road riding portion of our test, and with all of these bikes your eyes are just out on stalks. Needless to say, they've all got way more performance than you could ever use on the road. So it's all down to their characters really. The ZX-10 has improved over the old bike. It's a lot smoother, it's a lot plusher with the suspension, the engine's very, very smooth, and because it doesn't make its power till really high in the revs, what you're left with is something that's very docile and very easy to ride. But nothing really sticks out as being special about it compared to the other bikes. The brakes, like the R1, are very, very wooden and really lack any kind of bite. It's very cramped for a tall rider like me, and the wind protection isn't very good for a tall rider like me. The Ducati is proving to be one of our favourites at the moment. That is just on fast sweeping roads, the front end of that bike and the stability, it just glides. It is just beautiful. The electronics are lovely, the throttle's great. The brakes are really powerful, probably one of the most powerful brakes next to the BMW, and the quick shifter is fantastic, as is the auto blipper. Then you've got the Aprilia, very, very track focused. Not as impressive on the road as the Ducati, but when we ride it on the track tomorrow, I'm sure that's really going to shine. Then you've got the S1000RR. It was our best bike on the road last year. Loads of creature comforts, absolutely stonking engine. Then there's the R1. Now that is really, really impressed us like it did last year. Really smooth engine, lovely wide spread of power. Feels like a racing bike, very taut suspension, racy riding position. Really uncomfortable on long distances though, but you can kind of put up with that on small blasts. Great gearbox, great quick shifter, but the brakes aren't so good. But for me, it's roomy, decent wind protection, but very weighty on the wrists. Basically the two bikes that are coming out as our favourites at the moment on the road is the R1 and the Panigale.
Those calipers, I'd fucking give me left arm for them. Well, I wouldn't actually, because then I wouldn't be able to use them exactly.
So we've learned all about the character of our superbikes on the road, but you can't use a fraction of their performance. So we're here at the track today at Alcaraz with racing tyres fitted, and we're going to see what they can do around this circuit. So we've come to the end of our 2016 Superbike Shootout, and it was a really interesting one this year, not to mention fun. These tests as well get faster every single year. The bikes make serious power now. The Aprilia makes 185 bhp at the back wheel on our dyno, the R1 189, 191 for the ZX-10R and 196 for the Ducati and the BMW, with the Panigale just making a fraction more. Unfortunately for Aprilia, the RSV's clutch started slipping by the end of our road ride and it couldn't complete the track portion of the test, so unfortunately it finishes last. So in fourth place is the new Kawasaki. It's a step up from last year's model, and it's by far the cheapest bike here. It now has top level R1 spec rider rate, a quick shifter, a plusher ride, nice light steering, and the engine is easy to manage at all speeds. But it's very similar to ride to the previous model. But like the R1, the brake-by-wire system lacks feel and bite and power, and they don't really give you the confidence and tactile feel of the best brakes here. Couple the brakes with the ultra tall gearing and its Euro 4 enforced 5 kilo weight gain, and it suffers on the track compared to the best. It records the slowest time here of 1 minute 44.4. That tall gearing and the fact the power's so far up the rev range is actually a good thing on the road, because you never actually dip into the power. You're always outside of the power on the road, which actually makes the bike quite docile and very, very easy to ride. So it's good for inexperienced riders, and it's got the potential to be very good for racers as well. And all the testers here love how confidence inspiring the ZX-10 is on the track, even if the times aren't there in standard trim. Moving on to the BMW, it's still a hugely competent bike on road and track. It has a bonkers engine, lots of rider refinements, and superb semi-active suspension. It's still good enough for second fastest here around Alcaraz. It did a 1 minute 43.13. And a lot of that's down to its stunning brakes and the fact the gearing really suits this track. But overall, it isn't as polished as the newer competition, and we've rated it third overall in this test. And now we're on to second place, which is the R1. Now, it won last year, and it still impresses now, but after MCN's time living with it for a year, it's too track focused and uncomfortable for the road, so it drops down the order to second overall. Doesn't really suit Alcaraz as well as it did at Jerez last year. You're between first and second in a lot of the corners, and it was only third fastest here with a 1 minute 43.86. But all our testers loved its handling, its electronics, and its beautiful cross-plane crank engine. But like the Kawasaki, the ABS takes away feel in the brakes. And now on to overall victory, which is the Ducati. Not only was it fastest on the track with a 1 minute 42.17, it was superb on the road too. Like the R1, we ran a long-term test 1299 Panigale last year, and the more we rode it, the more we loved it. It's actually more comfortable than the R1. It's roomy, it's got lovely road poise, superb electronics, and it's not a bad looking old girl either. So there you have it, the Ducati has won. The Kawasaki has really struggled because of all its Euro 4, extra weight, ABS and all that kind of stuff. But next year all the other bikes will have to go through the Euro 4 strangling, so it could very well be that the Kawasaki could be best placed in 2017. We'll have to see, and then there'll be a new Fireblade, hopefully, and a new GSX-1000. So next year's test promises to be just as exciting.